Hey, Carl. So what you're saying is when a new product's released, we should all move to it like lemmings off the cliff. Wait, that's not exactly what you said. Um, yeah, new products are not necessarily better than the older ones. I definitely think it needs evaluation, and I think what you guys are doing to evaluate Hyperborea before adopting it makes a lot of sense, especially in an ongoing campaign. My understanding is the monk is not going to be nerfed because you can't nerf a class that's already nerfed, but from what I've read, from what he's written on the forums and in comments, that the monk is actually going to be better than it was. The monk's getting an upgrade. I don't know exactly the specifics of the upgrade, but I believe the monk will be upgraded, not further downgraded, making it worse than it already is. So hopefully that helps, and I will talk to you later.
No, Jason, I did mean that you, like a lemming, go to the new shiny. I actually did mean that. And I'm trying to think if there was an event in the AD&D second edition box set that took place in the Shadowdale area, and I think there was one instance where you were chased by lemming-like creatures out of the dungeon. Yeah, I think the idea was not to stand and fight, but to run and then jump off the cliff into the grotto, pond, lake below. I can't remember. I think the players that did jump survived. The players that stood and fight, well, they got eaten by lemmings. And then the lemmings went over the cliff. So there you go. Interesting, right? So this actually brings me to a point that I did kind of forget. I mean, I talked about the transition from 3.5 to 4E to Pathfinder and Pathfinder to 5E, though I'm not, or Pathfinder 1 to Pathfinder 2, though not really Pathfinder to 5E, although it seems a lot of. See, I didn't follow the crowd on that one. While I play 5E, we all didn't jump at it, and then my players like it, but they're divided on whether it's the best system. Actually, right now, my players think the best system is Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition, but that's because we have the most fun with it. That's my home group. I don't know. I've never taken a poll as to what you all who play in my virtual tabletop games think is the best system, right? But I remember, right? So I got the Moldvay box set back in 79, 80. I guess it was 80, right? And soon, I mean, I had the monster manual too, or I found the monster manual. And then soon we made the move over to AD&D first edition because it was suggested that the BX rules, the basic rules for kids, and we wanted to be adults. And the AD&D first edition had, the adult like art, right? I don't know. It's very interesting that switch and that transition. And then we we were playing a long term campaign of OA, which I mean I guess that's a supplement for. I should have talked about that as a supplement, but OA was a supplement for AD&D first edition, and we were in the middle of a long term campaign when second edition came, and we kind of sort of switched, but we really didn't. I think we only switched because we did like a crossover from our OA campaign into Al Qadim, and that's when we switched. And some people kept their OA characters, and other people made new Al Qadim characters. So that's pretty interesting that of the evolution of moving from one game to another. And then when third edition came out, I think I hadn't been playing AD&D for a while. I think I was running other things, a lot of hero system. That's a big one too, right? Hero fourth to fifth, and then fifth to fifth edition revised, and then fifth to sixth, and there was a big drop off. So a lot of people really thought that fifth edition revised was the pinnacle of development for hero system, and sixth does some things that people don't like you have to buy everything instead of having derived stats. So it gives more flexibility, but more fiddliness too, right? So there you go. That's pre Pathfinder, my move from one edition to another. So, and I guess because there was a big gap in playing D&D, and D, and I wanted to pick up D&D again, Then I just jumped into third because that's what was there. We did play a long third edition campaign and modified it as 3.5 came out. And we actually did one time switch from 3.5 to Pathfinder. So at some point, just because it worked easier and it was better for paladins and priests and barbarians and bards, from among other things. Anyway, more on moving from one system to another, thanks to Jason Connerly's prompt. Friday, I started a new Savage Worlds mini campaign of East Texas University. Go Ravens. This game is a Savage Worlds game where the players play college students at a fictitious university called East Texas University, which is in Pine Box, Texas. So there are a lot of small universities in East Texas. This could be anything from Sam Houston State to Blinn College to, well, those are the first two that I can think of. There are other ones that are around there in that area of East Texas. North of the big school where they say Gig'em for sure. And my players seem to be very excited. I have Jason Connerly of Nerds Variety RPG Cast, Shay Webster of Roleplay Rescue, and Arlen Walker of Live from Pelham's Wasteland. We play on Friday at 1 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time, which is also, I believe, I want to say 7 p.m. British Summertime. That might be correct. I think we're 6 hours behind, maybe 8. I'm not sure. Someone can correct me. But I give you these times because saying that, we could use one more player. We don't need to. We will continue on because it's really fun and I have some great players. But I could field another one. It's a neat system if you like Savage Worlds, and there's a fun sub game where you sort of take classes in the background and then try to figure out ways to add to your role at the end of the semester so you can then pass your exams and you get extra benefits from doing that. But it's neat. It's like, I would say it has a feel of sort of, Angel and Buffy, right? So college age kids fighting against the supernatural. And we had a really fun session. So I'm running through Degrees of Horror. But what I like about Degrees of Horror is that it gives you sort of like an adventure that can last through the whole year, freshman, sophomore, etc. But that's not the only thing that happens to the players during the year. There are other shenanigans that they get up to, much like, you have an overall arc and theme in these shows like Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, but occasionally you'll have like an episode that doesn't necessarily contribute to the overall story arc, but contributes to the development of the characters in the teleplay. So we have 3 characters. We have Shay is playing. Well, I was trying to think how I can describe the. So Shay is playing Thelma, who is basically modeled after Thelma from Scooby-Doo, kind of that background character that is very smart, probably solves most of the problems but never gets the credit. Then we have Arlen is playing Jack, who's a local kid, just trying to help and be a support to everyone. At least that's the way Arlen suggested that he wants to play him. And then we have Jason's playing Daniel D-Day Lewis, modeled after D-Day from National Lampoon's Animal House. And he is sort of this older college student who, went to the military, is on the GI Bill. So it's pretty cool. I like that they came up with their own stories and how they're going to fit in. I think Arlen's is going to be emerging, more or less. So it was good. They had freshman orientation, and the premise is that they're in this sleep in the gym, the basketball arena called the Roost, and it's a this is like Texas in late August. It's hot and humid. The air conditioning doesn't work as great. And it's supposed to be a way to, the whole idea of the sweat lodge. So the Ravens mascot is named after Sam Houston, who apparently was called the Raven by Native American tribes. And there's this whole affectation, maybe it's cultural appropriation. It is cultural appropriation, isn't it? The idea of the sweat lodge because of the Native American ritual of doing that. But in this case, it's freshman orientation. They meet a senior who tells them things that he thinks are words of wisdom, but it's just a load of crap. There's a party going on, but there's actually something nefarious going on in the background, and the characters discovered what that was, which I thought was really good because the hints I thought were vague. Thelma had an encounter with a ghost who gave them a hint and imparted upon Thelma some sort of way to detect the nefarious thing, and they found it and they did it. And they drove away and defeated the perpetrator of this nefarious deed. I'm being vague because what if you play Degrees of Horror? I don't want to give everything away. I mean, and some other monster grabbed the perpetrator and fled. And definitely Jason's character tried to stop him, but was stopped. Not killed. No one was killed. I think people are only slightly injured. They met an NPC that could be their mentor, Dr. McClanahan, who is like a ghost hunter. I'm going to model him after Zach Baggins from, I can't remember the name of the show, but it's like a ghost hunter show. And Zach Baggins is very, very excitable. He has another NPC is a research assistant named Jackson Green, who is a very shy kind of kid, but maybe pretty smart. Who knows? So that's what happened. And basically, Thelma and Jack, when they found the way to stop this nefarious thing from happening, they spent the time fixing it for the most part, and we're very dedicated and focused on that. While D-Day dealt with the monsters, more or less. The Jack helped with the monsters, but then decided, no, I think I'm getting a little too overzealous, and then went to go help Thelma clean things up. So I thought it was pretty neat. I gave them an advance, which is like a improvement upon their character, because they did a good job of figuring out what was going on and solving it. And they also got another benefit because they went out of their way to clean up what looked like graffiti, and that was the custodial staff. They were very appreciative of, because that was a task that that was a task that they were ordered to do and weren't able to finish it because of things that happened during the course of the adventure, and the player characters or their characters finished the task. So now I think they have like a friend among the service and custodial staff. Often an overlooked aspect of college life or university life, that know a lot of stuff and can get you into a lot of spaces, and are a good resource to have, really, and good friends to have if you're in a university situation, as you might know, right? Like I think I was always told in college, be excellent to everyone, of course, but don't look down upon, right, the people that are in the service industry to help make your life easier in college, right? The custodial service, the maintenance staff, the cafeteria workers, right? So I think I'm trying to play that up because I tried to do that when I was in college, and I think it's a good resource to have. So I'm sure I'm rambling on about this, and I don't know where I'll put this or add this into RPG a day. That seems to be the most efficient course of action. But that's our first foray into ETU. Sorry for my waxing on and commentary. But anyway, stay safe, have fun playing games, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi everyone, and welcome back to RPG A Day 2021. It is August 17th, and today's prompt word is trap. So what does my ET recap have to do with trap? Well, and I provide the railroad sounds for Jason Connerly's benefit. Well, the adventure was an elaborate trap set up by the bad guys to screw over the characters. And maybe they knew it, maybe they didn't, maybe they were just going with it. But how do you... I don't want to talk about puzzles and tricks and traps. We've talked about that already. But this idea of an elaborate trap to get the players where you want to go, does that work? I mean, I guess it worked in this context because maybe I played up the humor. It was a required event that all the freshmen in the incoming class of 2025 had to participate in. Right? So they kind of had to. It was the adventure. But can you do that in an ongoing adventure? I don't know. I think players honestly are paranoid and skeptical, and it's hard to pull one over on them. Jules of Life from NZ talked about that the year as a GM only gets one time when he can do this. And this is actually also prompted by a movie I just watched. It's The Black Death. It's about circa 2010, 2011. Takes place in, I think, England. Yeah, it looks like England, 1348 during the plague. And it's got Sean Bean. Spoiler, he dies, no surprise. But he leads a group of men who are pursuing this story, right? The plague is raging throughout England here, killing everyone. And there's this place beyond the swamp where no one has contracted the plague. So, of course, being superstitious, the society at the time believes that this is the work of the devil. So they send they're basically, Sean Bean leads a group of Templars, effectively. They work for the church to try to solve this. They also recruit a monk to act as a guide, and that monk is played by Eddie Redmayne. Another notable in that movie is the Irish actor John Lynch. So actually, the premise seems to me like it would be a pretty cool, like, Dark Ages Call of Cthulhu adventure. This is happening, people are dying. I mean, they definitely show in this movie a lot of the piles of the dead, monks and priests collecting the dead. They show a couple of these doctors with the plague mask, right? So they go and they're led. Oh, and I won't tell you all of the plot. There is a cool fight scene in it before they get to the town, where it shows how competent these men are. They're killers, much above like bandits or locals or whatever. They get to the town, and that's where I feel like, and something is weird. You can tell something is weird in the town, and it is basically a trap. The townsfolk are trying to trap these men for being here. They don't like them for various reasons, and they trap them. I don't think you'd be able to get away with that with players, and players would right away be like, "Oh, it's suspicious." I think I was telling my wife while we were watching it. Oh, I think this is where the players would start attacking, because it seems like it's obvious, right? That there's this town. You are all you as your company are members of the church. The church is dilapidated and no one goes there. There's no bodies or anything around. It's just very suspicious. Apparently we learned that there was another group who came through here and they hadn't returned. That's why the second bigger group was sent. And we find evidence of the other group. Well, the evidence is like one of the people in the village is wearing like a chain from that group. So something's up. I mean, I don't know. Do players roll with it? Do players like preempt? Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that boils down to like the trust between the two. I talked about. Have I talked about that yet? And I guess that brings me to my second recap. I don't think I talked about my Warhammer Fantasy Second Edition game that is being run by Kevin Madison. When we last left off, we were in a precarious trap. Um, we were being confronted by the Lord of the Land and his men at arms, and the Lord basically said, capture them as bandits and hang them. So my character, not wanting to be caught, that's how maybe I project the way I played on my other players, and that's why I would never be caught in the trap, right? Well, he doesn't run. He attacks, which is bad. Halberds are bad. And Warhammer Fantasy RPG 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 are all pretty deadly. So, but the whole scene was really part of the plot because when it looked like things were bad and one character got taken down and actually had to permanently spend a fate point or he would have died, we were rescued by these men from the forest who have bows and arrows and they fire upon the men at arms and the Lord and they flee and we run to the forest. So, right. So then we met that these people are kind of like these bandits in the woods that hate the system, hate the cruelty of the current Lord and are rebelling against him. We talked to the leader of this group who told us there was this barrow, and that's maybe where these mutants came from, who had kidnapped this group of peasants from this land in the first place and taken them to L'Anjou, the big city. And we also learned that we got to get to this barrow to find evidence maybe that the Lord might be involved, because right now it's circumstantial. And then we learned that the Lord, having taken offense to the intervention of these woodsmen, was now sending his men to scour the woods and get us. So, but that scene involved some trust because it was a trap and we had to buy into the GM's story, right? So maybe that's part of it and how you can involve or get the players to buy in. And that's how maybe you can have these elaborate traps that draw your party in, cause them some consternation. But then, of course, you need to have a way out, right? There's got to be a way out that they can make a decision, have some agency, and get out, right? So right, that's the thing. You know that at every party that the players attend, someone is going to be, I'm not eating the food, I'm not drinking the wine, you know. So how do you do it? I guess that's a big dilemma. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Trap. A couple of recaps that involved elaborate traps. And we will talk to you tomorrow. That's RPG A Day 2021 with a prompt word, trap.